Israel, SHAHAK, Jewish History, Jewish Religion, The Weight of 3,000 Years, forward by Edward Said, following. During the 1980s, when it became fashionable for Palestinian intellectuals and a few PLO officers to seek out dialogue with the Israeli doves of peace, now the Labour Party and Meretz SHAHAK was routinely excluded. For one, he was extremely critical of the Israeli peace camp for its compromises, its shameful practice of pressuring the Palestinians and not the Israeli government for changes in policy, its unwillingness to free itself from the constraints of protecting Israel by not saying anything critical about it to non-Jews. For another, he was never a politician. He simply did not believe in all the posturing and circumlocutions that people with political ambitions were always willing to indulge. He fought for equality, truth, real peace, and dialogue with Palestinians. The official Israeli doves fought for arrangements that would make possible the kind of peace that brought Oslo, and which SHAHAK was one of the first to denounce. Speaking as a Palestinian, however, it was always ashamed that Palestinian activists, who were anxious to dialogue in secret or in public with the Labour Party or Meretz, refused to have anything to do with SHAHAK. For them, he was too radical, too outspoken, too marginal with regard to official power. Secretly, I think they also feared that he would be too critical of Palestinian policies. He certainly would have. Aside from his example as an intellectual who never betrayed his calling or compromised with the truth as he saw it, SHAHAK performed an immense service over the years for his friends and supporters abroad. Acting on the correct premise that the Israeli press was paradoxically more truthful and informative about Israel than either the Arab or Western media, he was laboriously translated, annotated, and then reproduced, and also dispatched thousands of articles from the Hebrew language press. It is impossible to overestimate this service. For me, as someone who spoke and wrote about Palestine, I could not have done what I did without SHAHAK's papers and, of course, his example as a seeker after truth, knowledge, and justice. It is as simple as that, and I, therefore, owe him a gigantic debt of gratitude. He did this labor at his own expense for the most part, as well as on his own time. The footnotes he added and the little introductions that he wrote for his monthly selections from the press were invaluable for their searching wit. Deeply informative, pithiness, and unendingly pedagogical patience. All the while, of course, SHAHAK continued his scientific research and his teaching, neither of which had anything to do with his annotations and translations. Somehow, he also found time to become the most erudite individual I have ever known. His range of knowledge of music, literature, sociology, and above all, history, in Europe, Asia, and elsewhere, is unrivaled in my experience. But it is as a scholar of Judaism that he towers over so many others since it is Judaism that has occupied his energies as a scholar and political activist from the beginning. A few years ago, he began interspersing his translations with reports that soon became monthly documents of several thousand words on one topic. For example, the real rabbinical background to Rabin's assassination, or while Israel must make peace with Syria, surprisingly because Syria is the only Arab country which can actually harm Israel militarily. It was in the 1940s, and so on. These were invaluable digests of the press, plus extremely shrewd, often inspired analysis of current trends and issues, usually obscured and unreported by the mainstream media. I have always known SHAHAK to be a prodigious historian, brilliant, intellectual, and polymath scholar and political activist. But as I suggested above, I have come to realize his central hobby has been a study of Judaism, of the rabbinical and Talmudic traditions, and of the scholarship on the subjects. This book is therefore a powerful contribution to these things. It is no less than a succinct history of classical as well as more recent Judaism, as those apply to an understanding of modern Israel. SHAHAK shows that the obscure, narrowly chauvinist prescriptions against various indesirable others are to be found in Judaism, as well of course as other monotheistic traditions. But he also then goes on to show the continuity between those and the way Israel treats Palestinians, Christians and other non-Jews. A devastating portrait of prejudice, hypocrisy, and religious intolerance emerges. What is important about it is that SHAHAK's description gives the lie not only to the fictions about Israel's democracy that abound in the Western media, but it also implicitly indicts Arab leaders and intellectuals for their scandalously ignorant view of that state, especially when they pontificate to their people that Israel has really changed and now wants peace with Palestinians and other Arabs. SHAHAK is a very brave man who should be honored for his services to humanity. But in today's world, the example of indefatigable work, unrelenting moral energy, and intellectual brilliance that he has set are an embarrassment for the status quo and to everyone for whom the work controversial means unwelcome and unsettling. I am certain, however, that what he says in Jewish history, Jewish religion, will be a source of discomfort to his Arab readers as well. I am sure he would say that he is pleased.